Welcome once again to another Emm Bee instructional video. Today we're going to be looking at the Burstner 590, the 2018 model, so that we can look at the inner workings and how to use this vehicle when we're out and about. So we're going to have a look around the outside and then we're going to come on the inside. So the first thing that we're going to look at is of course the engine bay. So here we can see inside the engine bay. I will show you in a moment how we open this up, but it is a latch that can be found just as we open the passenger door, and then we put our hand inside the bonnet just into this space here. We would lift this catch up and then that would release the latch here, and you pull it up and of course put the security arm in to make sure that you are safe. Just looking inside the engine bay, of course they aren't necessarily things that you want yourself to be getting in. So some of the important elements are, if you do find yourself in a breakdown position, then of course you have got access to the battery down there and a charging point up here that you would be able to put on if you need to use a jump start cable. And of course the bit that we probably do need to know is this is where we're filling in, just in here, for our window wiper fluid. Everything else should be taken care of, obviously with service and with care, and that will give you an approach to where everything is. As we come around the side of the vehicle, we get to the door space. This is the passenger door. Then we open the passenger door and this is where we can see, just here, this is the release handle that we'll press here. And just to add to that while the door is open, that this also of course is where we fill with fluid. We pull in here at the triangle, so we do have to need to make sure that the door is open, and that is our diesel fuel cap. So just whilst we're in the front of the vehicle, we'll also take a look at some of the important parts that are here in the cab. So of course we've got our driving positions. These are standard as they would be with most vehicles, but bits that will be useful for you when you are using is first of course to understand that this is where we pull the blinds across for our front windows. We simply pinch these two together and pull, and we pull all the way across to the middle, and they will join with the other side to be magnetic. That will give you obviously your vanity space, as well as giving you some thermal insulation. We also have this on the side windows. These ones can be a little bit tricky, but just pull them out again, the same again, and be delicate, and then once you're ready, clip together and you'll push back. Added to that as well, you'll notice here in the Burstners, in the front of the vehicle, just under the passenger seat, we can release this plastic catch here by simply pulling the handle up there, and underneath here we have access to the fuse box. And this can be useful at times if things have gone and information that you might want to grab hold of or to be able to show. So that's where that would be located, and that'll give you some information there. As we come out now, we'll start to head around the side of the vehicle so that you can start to see. And down on this side, the passenger side, we have two doors that are for ourselves. I've got them open as they stand at the moment. They are both key operated in the way that they open. So the first one that we've got here is our access to our water. So this is obviously very useful in terms of being able to maintain our water pressure and all the elements that we're going to need for using inside of the vehicle. So we have here on the door some pieces of equipment, and just inside, just resting here, we also have this section which is used to help us. It's an overflow when we're trying to fill. So this white tank here is our water tank. To fill it up, we simply undo and place this over that space, and the reason we do that is whilst we put our hose pipe in here to fill, any runoff will run outside and not inside of the vehicle. So please make sure that you do use that. It can be found here inside of the section for you. As you fill that up, you will be able to realize and see that there is water coming in by the various machines inside, and I'll show you those. But also, just so that you've got in your mind that when it comes to winter, you do need to drain down. You don't want it to be too high, otherwise with any freezing you could cause some damage. So to do that, try and release yourself down to 20 litres. Now you'll also notice here that we have the control arm. This is for our pump and also for the water. To be able to release the water, so in other words, if your tank is full, you simply lift that up as it is in the position at the moment, and that will drain out the fluid. When you're filling up, please make sure that it is down, otherwise the water will simply run out. If the water is running out of the bottom, then you need to make sure that that is in the opposite position. You also need to turn this blue tap when you want to use your hot water. So when you're on your journey, turn it anyway, and that will activate the pump system. And then we'll show you how to prime that in a moment, which simply is going to the sink, turning it to hot water and running it until you start to see just pure water coming out, no more air and no more spurting. And once that happens, then you have cleared the air out of the system. We recommend you do the same with the shower and the sink in the bathroom, and that way you've brought all the air out of the system. Added to that, then we have what we call the grey water. This is the water that is coming out of our waste, not our toilet waste, but our waste from our shower, sink and sink in the kitchen. And if we just go downwards from this position, we will see here this grey pipe, which is our grey waste, and then also this metal rod. Now this metal rod needs to be turned to release the grey waste. If when you're running the water is coming out, then that means that it's still open and it needs to be closed. To close it, we use this piece of equipment here that looks a little bit like a spanner, or a kind of a very large wrench of some description, and you simply place it over this silver, put it on, and you will turn it to get it to the position that you need to. And that will give you then your ability to be able to fill up your tank. So obviously this is an important element. Please try and make sure you put the thing back, because it's a very easy piece to lose, and obviously it's very specific to the unit. Once in, you can then shut the door by simply turning, and then you can lock it if so wanted. Next to it we have our vent. That is part of our heating system. You don't need to do anything about that, but that's just so you know where it is. And then the next door to that is here. This is our gas bottle drawer, and so we simply press both buttons, top and bottom, at exactly the same time, and as long as it's unlocked, that should then open for you. And inside you have your connection for your gas bottles, which you would put in here, and also just here that is your regulator. So you just need to fit your, what is affectionately called sometimes as a pigtail, that will connect into the top and then into the gas bottle that you are using at the time. As we move a bit further around the vehicle, you'll see that's all that there is here on the passenger side. But as we get to the rear of the vehicle, unusually, and that's because of part of the size, we actually have access to the toilet cassette. Again, as long as this is unlocked, we press both buttons at the same time, and as we do, I've already opened it so for ease of the video, we pull it open and there is our cassette. Now the cassettes are quite universal from motorhome to motorhome, so if you have already used these before, you'll know what you're doing, but if not, I'll just go through the process for you. Simply, to remove the cassette, we pull this handle up, and as we pull it up, it unclips out of the hole, and then the whole unit can be pulled out quite easily, simply like that. So I'm going to pull that out and show you the inner workings of the cassette. So this is the cassette out, and it's actually got designed here a travel handle. This was in the top. We simply unclipped it and pulled it up, and as we pulled it up, we've now got a wheelable trolley which we could take to the space on the site that is for our brown waste. So the cassette is sealed, and of course you want it to be a sealed unit, but let's have a look at the inner workings of it. So first of all, let's pull the handle back down just so we know. To have unclipped it, we would have pulled it around these two plastic clips, so we would have pulled it around either side, and that would have held it in. So I'm going to place the thing down now just so you can see, and this is the cassette and the little elements that you're going to use. First of all, the bit that you're going to use to drain it will be this, the funnel. We simply turn the funnel towards the position that we're going to empty it, and we unclip the end. As we unclip the end, we take off the cap, which will have been protecting all things. This cap also does double quite nicely as using for a measuring out for the fluid that you will use for the breakdown of these that you would have poured inside of the cassette. So you take that to a side, and then simply, when you've got to your position where you'll be emptying it, you tip with gravity, and as you do, you press this button. This button will allow air to come into the top so that you don't get any splurting or splashback, which of course will probably be the last thing that you want. So you press that down and then tip, and it will all empty out into the toilet space. You also have access, if you do want, inside of the unit. We can slide this off to give us an access to where we can see, and then we turn this and that opens the blade, and as we open the blade we actually have access to the inside should we ever need to tidy it or add any more of our fluid. We seal that again and close this, and then we can put it all into the position to put it back. When placing the toilet cassette back, we just simply put it back into its hole, making sure that this is the direction that it's facing, and simply slide it back in, making sure that this handle has gone into the space, and then we close the door. The area will be sealed, so you shouldn't be getting any nasty smells, and we'll show you from the toilet side how you operate it on that side. And then we simply seal up the unit. Be aware of this when you're parking on site, that your cassette is at the rear, so make sure you do have access to it if you are going to need to be emptying this space. As we move a bit further around now to the driver's side of the vehicle, the first area that we have here, of course, is our storage compartment, and there are two storage compartments on this side. This one at the back is accessible from the bathroom, and I will show you that. As you can see, it is a full height of the van, and so you can get a number of items in there. Within this particular one we have a toolbox that is here that can be used if there are any things that you might need that for, as well as the carpets that come with this. Just at the top of the vehicle also we have the awning, and we have a separate video that will show you how to use that, and that will be available on our YouTube site. This again is a double door, so to open it we need to simply pull this handle. As we pull that handle, providing that it's unlocked, it will open for us, and then on this particular catch here it will clip, and as it clips it's secure against winds, so make sure that you do that if you open it, so that it isn't slamming and moving back and forth. As we move a little further around the vehicle, then we get to this space here, and we have another storage compartment. This is just behind the driver's seat. Again, we unlock it and simply pull the handle, and as we do, we can pull it up, making sure that the hinge connects into that wedge there, and that will keep it secure. As you can see there, it's not moving. Under here we have simply pure storage. Gives you access to quite a lot of bits there that you can use just to store a few extras that you may need. So from that, we're now going to go into the inside of the vehicle and have a look at what we can find. So as we come round to the habitation door, you'll notice that under we have our step, which comes out automatically, and then our extra wide door for access. Simply pull the handle, and same again, you'll see the clip that it clips into, and once clipped it should be secure. To get in access, then we just simply press the button here, and that will open for us and slide out the step, which is for ease of access. And as we come into the vehicle, this will give us our first glimpse of what we see inside. So it is our front lounge space, which is quite spacious and lovely. Our drop down bed, which is here at the top, and then we have our kitchen space, our fridge freezer, and then access to our bathroom space, as is found here in the back, which is all quite excellent. So let's start with what we find when we come through the door. And of course, that first thing here is that we do have our control panel. As we press the control panel, the first button we want to press is this. This is our turn on of power, and as we turn that on with power, that gives us access. You will see some of the lights have come on. The rest of our light switches are just down here as we come through the door, which is part of the culture, and that will open up for us all of the lights, as we can see here, quite lovely and beautiful throughout the vehicle, nice and lit up for us, giving us a great example of the Burstner style. We also have some other buttons on here that will give us some readings. These readings are very useful when we're just trying to find out the situation. So first of all, here at the bottom we have, this is the voltage on the vehicle's battery. The top is the voltage, of course, on our habitation battery, so what we call the leisure battery. As we press that, we can see that it's well charged. As we press this, we can see that it's well charged. This then is our water, and as we press that, that will give us the level of water, which at the moment is 0 because we've got that empty. This also then turns on our pump, which is important, so providing that we've turned on the other side, and of course then we have a reading there with the percentage of waste water. So as we move into the kitchen space, here we have our oven space below. Obviously that's quite handy and useful in terms of cooking. We have our hob and grill space here on the top, which will give us a great use for boiling, and then our sink. So to prime the hot water, as I suggested, you need to turn it all the way to the hot, open it up, and you will see the water start to spurt originally as the air is cleared out, and then once it's running clear, then your system is primed, and you can certainly turn that off. The water will heat up and then you are ready for that heating system. We also recommend you do exactly the same in the bathroom space. So when you're in the bathroom, that you would also run the hot water, of course, in the sink, and that you will also run it in the shower. Even if you're not going to use them, it is important and useful just to clear out the air, because you don't want to be heating hot air. Just a note, of course, on the toilet, underneath here is a handle for a blade. You simply turn that to the open position, and when you do, then you can use the toilet inside, and that will, of course, open up onto the blade within your unit. There is also storage in this space. Each of the store spaces can be opened by pressing the button. We know that that is considerable and well spaced. You will find in here, of course, also the awning winder. That's useful when you're trying to bring out the awning. In this particular version of the 590, this storage also gives you access, as you can see, to that garage space. It is also important to note that you do have some shelves. They are stored upright at the moment, but if you were to turn these handles, then they will, of course, release. Make sure they're locked again when you do start to move, if you have them up, and there you can see it now gives you a shelf space if so needed. You can leave it in this position, and using the hanging rails, you've now got a hanging position as well. So that's the bathroom space for you. As we move now then into the kitchen, we've looked obviously at the sink and the oven. Now we're going to have a look here at the fridge freezer, which is our three-fuel or three-way Dometic, as we kind of say. What this means is that you can run the vehicle, the fridge freezer, on any three of these particular fuels. So this one denotes the hookup that you will have on a site. So if you've plugged in, and if you remember that you saw the hookup set up where the water intake was, or you can use the gas, or you can use the leisure battery. However, we recommend you press the A. This is an automatic setting, and it will simply use them in this particular order. It will always use the electric on the hookup. You are paying for it, so you might as well, and that will sort it. This then gives you the level that you wish that your fridge and freezers to be at, and do keep in mind that it does take a little while for it to get to a cold position. So anything that you're storing in that, it may take it a few hours to get to that stage. The last thing to show you in this space before we come to our living room and understand what we'll be looking at here is, of course, our heating system. And this is how we control it here. So the heating system controls are in front of us, and they will give us all of our connections that we need. So let's go through the controls and see how we work. So at the moment, this would be the off position. When we click it to the on position, then this gives us a readout like this, what we'll call a little van habitation, the water, the fuel type, and then the fan. So this first one is the temperature that we would like in the vehicle. We simply click on it. It's off at the moment, and you turn it to the temperature that you want. So if you get it to a 20 degrees, then the van will stay at 20 degrees until you turn it off. So we're going to set that to the off position now, so that you're aware. And we press the back button there. The next then gives us our hot water options. If we click on here, we have off, eco, hot, and boost. Boost is useful if you have come back and you want a quick boost for a hot shower, but the eco mode will give you warm water, hot water through the day. Click back, we then have our fuel options. So these are the options that we've got. So we've got what we will call gas, mix 1, mix 2, electric 1, and electric 2. So quite self-explanatory really. The gas is your gas bottle that you can heat from that if you so wish. The mix 1 and 2 will use a mix of electric and gas. it will always favor the electric first of all. And the reason for the 1 and the 2 is if you are on low voltage sites, which sometimes can be the case in Europe, then if you click it to the 1 version, that will be useful. And then on the electric version of that, and we'll go back to there, you'll see the electric 1 and 2, they will give you just a pure electric. And if you're on a hookup, then it's worth using those. The last thing to keep on then is your fan. You don't really need to mess with this, but if you do click on that, you can off or vent, and that will give you a bit of cool air on the day. So the last thing to kind of look at here then is our bedding situation. So if we notice in terms of the vehicle and where we are, we have our bed that drops down. We have the operation for the bed to be found here. So obviously keep yourself secure in a place. And then we have our second potential bed, which can be found by alternating the table and moving it into a position. So I'm going to show you the lower bed first, and then I'll show you the upper bed. Of course, you can use whichever one that you want. So to move the table back and forth, we have here a clip. You can just see where my hand is. We have to make sure that that is turned into its correct position and then lock again once using the table. When put in the unlocked position, then we can have the access to move the table back and forth, which is useful. And we will need that to be able to get it into the correct sleeping position. To be able to drop the table, we simply lift it up and then push down, and the table will drop. And I'll show you what that looks like when completed. So once dropped, that brings us to this position. We've taken the back cushions off either side, and they now give us a sleeping position that we can lay on, give to a friend who might be staying over, and it gives us an extra space. Now, if that's not the bed you're going to use all of the time, and of course it would make sense that you use the bed that is a drop down, then this position doesn't need to be used. However, if you do and you want to drop the bed further, then obviously you need to make sure that you have pulled the cushions down so that you can. The other thing to remember is to make sure that any lights that are on the 12 volt strips that are here are all turned up so that they don't break or there is no issues when they turn. So let's drop the bed and show you how that works. So using the key function, as we can see here, this is its locked position, which means nothing will happen. If you do go with people who may not necessarily understand or be pressing buttons when they shouldn't be, you can remove the keys and take them with you so that they're secure. But once turned to this position, it means the bed system is now armed, and the buttons up and down will of course indicate where the bed is going to go. So if I press the down button, you can see the bed move a little, and I'm now going to just press pause and then pull the bed down so that you can see it in its maximum position. So now we can see the bed in its bottom position. So it has been pulled down to this place, and just to remind you that underneath you also do have nets which connect to these clips just here in the ceiling. This obviously will secure if anybody does roll around in their sleep, and that means that they are secure. Underneath the bed we then also have our other position, the sleeping position, and of course we can lift the bed up to different heights to give more room under here. To remove the bed and take the bed up, we simply press once again these buttons that are here, and that will take the bed up. And of course we have our ladder, which we simply secure by lifting up into the bed and leaving. We can leave of course the bedding on. This is the function of the drop down bed and the real usefulness to give you all the elements that you need. And now we can see the bed back in its upright position and the space that we have for the day. We've also pulled the table up by pulling it up and then letting it drop a little bit, and it's now in a secure position. As you can see, it's not going down. The last things to remind you then, as you're looking here in the back, is the use of the windows, where we have these pull downs which will give us fly screens. They come all the way down and will clip over that space there at the bottom. To undo, we pull it over the clip and we simply pull it back up. If we wish to use the vanity blinds, the same again, they will come up and click, and if we press that, it can pull them all the way back down again. We also have one over the door space, which is useful. Obviously, if you do have the door open, you can put it all the way across, and you will see here that it has got a magnetic slot that will keep it secure. And that's the 2018 590 Burstner. Thank you very much for the video. I hope you enjoyed it.